Thank you, Pandika, for inviting me here to talk about social media, its impact on medicine. So we live in an age where an apple is no longer a fruit. Don't open a window to get any fresh air. The mouse doesn't have 4 legs anymore. And the virus doesn't make you sick, it makes your computer go wrong. So how did we get here? We started with the history of social media. The first website came into being in 1991. Wi-Fi came into being in 1997. Google started in 98. The fountain of all knowledge, Wikipedia, began in 2001. Still there was no social media. First social media platform was in 2003, which was MySpace. Facebook started a year later, in 2004. There was rivalry between MySpace and Facebook for a long time, for a few years. Ultimately, Facebook emerged the winner. Still, there was no social media as we know it today. So, social media really took off only in 2007 when the iPhone came into being. So it took the internet, wireless technology, and the availability of that wireless technology on a mobile phone for social media to explode into what it is today. Sri Lanka has a population of 21 million, 5.4 million of them use Facebook. 2.8 million are 19 to 30 years old, so it's a younger generation. Has it done any good for medicine? Yes, of course, it has. It has generated an information revolution. Information is readily available to doctors and to patients. Information can be easily shared between doctors, information can be shared between patients as well. And because of that, there's more access to services. Doctors can make themselves known more, and patients can access more information about healthcare services. For example, organ donation. People launch individual campaigns. They launch a Facebook page looking for an organ donor. This is the story of Matthew, whose family was looking for a kidney for 10 years until they put up a Facebook page. Within months, he had an organ donor and he had a kidney transplant. So that's good. The Facebook effect. In 2012, Facebook liaised with Johns Hopkins, and in the timeline of the Facebook where you put your status and relationship and where you worked and where you went to school, they also included organ donor status. And they linked that with the different organ donor registries in the different states in the United States. Within 2 weeks, the number of organ donors rose by 21-fold in the entire United States. It didn't last. It lasted for 2 weeks and then it sort of petered out. But the same effect was replicated in France and in the United Kingdom. Previously, they had tried various attempts to increase the number of organ donors. It didn't succeed, but this succeeded. So that's a success story. Fundraising can happen with Facebook or other social media. This father was waiting for a heart transplant, waiting for money for a heart transplant for his child. And he published this picture on Facebook. Facebook took that page down, saying that the picture was negative and too gory to be published. That was picked up by the mainstream media in the UK. And then donations came pouring in and the child had his heart transplant. So it can work in several ways. You may remember the Ice Bucket Challenge in 2014 when there was a campaign to raise funds for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. People bathed themselves in a bucket of ice water, took a video and put that on Facebook and challenged 3 other people to do the same. In doing that, they made a small donation for research into amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. It was even done in Sri Lanka. And it is interesting that a lot of people did that, put their videos on Facebook, but they didn't make the donation. Social media is all over the place in medical education. You don't need to go to medical school anymore. All the lectures are there on YouTube. You don't have to attend lecture at 2 o'clock in the afternoon like this. You can pick your time and listen to lectures on YouTube. It has its good points. If you miss a lecture, you can hear it at any time. You can play back, but it has its disadvantages as well. There is no one vouching for the accuracy of the information. So if you fail your exams based on the information on the YouTube videos, you can't sue the website. Let's talk a bit about the bad of social media. It has some physical effects, social effects, and emotional effects. The physical effects mainly relate to the physical consequences of excess computer usage. The social effects relate to the quality of information on social media. The emotional effects relate to the mental health effects. I'm a psychiatrist, so I know very little about physical issues. You probably know more about these things. Sleep deprivation, sedentary lifestyle, lack of exercise, results in obesity. Carpal tunnel syndrome, due to the excessive use of hands in moving the mouse. Lateral epicondylitis, I'm told, is now called the mouse elbow, when it was previously called the tennis elbow. And they're doing research into macular degeneration, which is supposed to be a consequence of looking at the blue light coming from smartphones. What we also know is that it can be physically dangerous to use social media if you get distracted, during driving particularly. Selfies have caused more than 150 deaths worldwide. They're now called kill-frees. You take more and more dangerous, risk-taking selfies, and sometimes that can be disaster. Most of the deaths have been in India. The commonest cause for selfie-related deaths have been due to drowning. 4 Sri Lankans have died due to trying to take selfies, including the 2 in the picture, who are 2 brothers, aged 24 and 12. They went on a trip. On the way home, they tried to take a selfie on the rail track between Vamalapitiya and Kollupitiya, and they died. Doctors rely on social media for information. When we were students, we used to memorize long lists of side effects of medication and signs and symptoms, because if we didn't remember them, we didn't have them with us. Younger doctors of today, and certainly medical students of today, don't have to do that. They have everything on their smartphone in an app. I'm told the Ceylon College of Physicians also has an app for these sessions. So it's the equivalent of carrying 10 textbooks of medicine with you all the time. Yes, it is convenient, it is good, but there's something called the Google effect or digital amnesia. When your brain processes information, it does so realizing the significance of that information to you. So if you want to remember something really desperately, then the brain makes a great effort to store that information in a stable manner. But if you know that the information is available to you in an app on a smartphone, then the brain stores that information in a less stable manner and you tend to forget it. So you end up with digital amnesia. So you have to ask yourself the question, if one day you forget your smartphone, leave it at home, can you function as a doctor that day? Not only doctors, patients also rely on social media. But the information has questionable accuracy. There are lots of apps which diagnose or claim to diagnose skin cancer. My Skin is one of them, Skin Vision is one another. What they do is they take a picture of the skin lesion and they go through a set of algorithms and tell you whether you have skin cancer or not. There was a survey done and they tested 4 apps in a lot of cases, and they found that 3 of the 4 apps are unreliable. The 4th app, which was reliable, they They weeded out the suspected photographs and sent them to a dermatologist for review. That's how they got it right. For the others, they told the patients that they didn't have skin cancer when they could have, and that can be very risky. Patients also rely a lot on Dr. Google. In the UK, last year they found that more than half the patients researched their symptoms before going to their GP. The study was replicated in Australia this year and with the same results. So if you Google symptoms, if you Google cough, lung cancer is a differential diagnosis. If you Google headache, brain tumor is a differential diagnosis. So patients are anxious. They need more reassurance. They need more investigations. So that is a problem. Not all information available on the internet is accurate. What about doctors sharing information? Confidentiality is a big issue. You can put doctors may discuss cases in WhatsApp groups or Viber groups or Facebook groups. There have been instances where such confidentiality has been breached. Facebook confidentiality has been breached. Do doctors post information about a patient on Facebook? Do they have their patient as a friend on Facebook? All these things are very gray areas at the moment. There are no guidelines. There are no rules and regulations. So we need guidelines for social media. Some medical boards have them, but even they need to be updated from time to time. I think the Sri Lanka Medical Education has guidelines on sharing medical information, but they don't relate specifically to Facebook. Increase access to doctors for patients. In Western countries, a website is a must if you want to have a good practice. Doctor has to list his qualifications, his achievements, his testimonials on the website. The patient will look at them and then decide whether to go to that doctor or not. Is this advertising? How far do you go? Where do you draw the line? Those are all questions which are very gray areas. In Sri Lanka, I haven't seen a single website advertising a doctor in Sri Lanka. There's a flip side to that too. There's doctor bashing. If you don't like a doctor, you can retaliate if you're a patient. But I've shown there in the slide, which I can't see properly again, it's the same doctor being reviewed by two patients. One says that he's excellent. He's a psychiatrist, by the way. He's straightforward, put me on medication that essentially saved me from myself. He followed up with me, always gave amazing advice. That's one review. The other one says, I'm disgusted with my experience. I never felt so dehumanized by a professional like that. I don't know who on earth gave this guy a PhD, but a goldfish would probably do a better job than this man. Same doctor, two different patients, two different experiences. So a person looking at this review, how do they make a judgment? There's a site called Do You Know Who? And there are lots of reviews of Sri Lankan doctors in that site, complete with where you can see them, their charges and their mobile phone numbers. Social media has also paved the way for dubious providers. Transplant surgery has become a big business thanks to social media. Biggest organ donor market is in India. 2,000 kidney transplants are done every year in India. And how it works is that brokers pose as relatives of patients who are in need of a kidney. They infiltrate Facebook pages which have support groups for kidney transplant patients. And then when someone wants to donate a kidney, they approach the donor, they approach a patient, and they set up the transaction and they pocket the commission. It's a thriving business, and I believe there were some issues involved in Sri Lanka as well, where everything was done in India, but the surgery was done in Sri Lanka. That has stopped now. Cosmetic surgery has grown by leaps and bounds since the advent of social media. Facebook and social media is all about looking good. So cosmetic surgery, your appearance counts a lot. So, complaints about cosmetic surgery in the United Kingdom in 2017 tripled. Out of the complaints, 83% were done by non-medical practitioners. Of that, some 70% of those providers were found on social media. So there are lots of social media pages advertising cosmetic surgery, and the practitioners are not regulated. There's a lot of misinformation on social media. Cancer cures. Here's a Facebook page. It says cannabis oil cures cancer. This is in the United States. In the United States, cannabis is licensed for severe pain and intractable epilepsy for treatment. There's no other licensed use in the United States. This page says the doctors who use chemotherapy are guilty of premeditated murder, and this page has 40,000 followers. There's misinformation about vaccination. This page is titled Stop Mandatory Vaccination. There are hundreds of pages against vaccination in the US and in the UK. And this particular page has 116,000 followers. When these pages started appearing in the United States, the medical community there wanted the pages pulled down. So they talked to Facebook and asked them to take down the pages. Facebook refused to do that, saying it's against the freedom of information. Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook, then posted a picture of his daughter being taken for vaccination. It says doctors visit, time for vaccination. That post generated 3 million likes. What are the mental health effects of social media? One thing we must realize is that social media is the target of the most vulnerable population for social media is the young age group for two reasons. The 16 to 24 age group is the age where you transition from a teenager to an adult. That's the age where you make decisions about your career, your relationships, where you're heading in life. So it's a stressful time. And that is also the age, this is statistics in the UK for 2017, that is also the age with the most number of social media users. Nearly 90% of that age group use social media. Anxiety is a common complaint, common consequence of social media. There is the compare and despair phenomenon, also called FOMO, which is feeling of missing out. Facebook and other social media outlets are all about comparison. You post a photograph, somebody else posts a photograph, and you compare. Inevitably you compare, is my one better than his or hers? And that constant comparison leads to a level of anxiety. There's also something called the digital footprint, what you have done in the past using online social media activities. For example, if you have been in a relationship before and if you have posted pictures of your partner has posted pictures of the relationship previously, and you don't want them to be online now, you can't do anything about it if the partner doesn't remove those pictures. So you constantly worry about what you have done in the past. Your pictures, your videos, the text messages you have sent people, all that. There's something called the phantom vibration syndrome. This is interesting. When you post something on social media, you expect a response. You expect someone to like it, or someone to respond with a comment. And you constantly keep checking your phone to see whether someone has responded or liked it. And that is called the phantom vibration syndrome, because people actually go and check their phone and they hear as if the phone is vibrating due to a message coming in when there's actually no message. So there have been documented cases of this syndrome. Depression, well recognized. In 1998, Kraut first described depression as a consequence of increased internet usage, not social media. Social media didn't exist at the time. That finding has been replicated and confirmed by subsequent studies in 2012 and 13. Most interesting is the study by Rosen in 2013, which found that people who changed their profile picture on Facebook very often had higher levels of depression. So we've done the good, the bad, we've discussed the ugly now. Cyberbullying. Cyberbullying has no legal definition, we'll discuss that later, but it is about hurting a person using IT. 39% of people participating in the children and young persons survey in the UK reported bullying to varying extents. It's different from traditional bullying. In traditional bullying at school or in other institutions, you know who the bully is. You know where it is going to occur. Your audience is your classroom or your lecture theatre. So it's confined. You can, if you want, you can avoid it. Bullying in cyberspace, you don't know if your bully is anonymous. It is 24/7 around the clock. They can bully you at any time, and your audience is the rest of the world. So the consequences are obviously greater. Types of cyberbullying. The commonest one is sending distressing messages, critical, nasty, or threatening messages. Cyberstalking. Cyberstalking is following a person continuously over social media. Trolling. Trolling is responding with provocative messages to a particular person so that you elicit a response from that person. You can also create fake profiles of a person and then act as if you're that person and start posting messages. Or you can hack into that person's account and do the same thing. You can threaten to post embarrassing videos, photos, texts, so actually post them. It leads to anxiety, depression, self-harm, potentially suicide, and sometimes, like in traditional bullying, which is called TB now, is the person bullied can become a bully himself. Internet gaming disorder. This is a new condition, relatively new condition. It's basically an addiction to internet gaming. In 2013, the American Psychiatric Association, in the DSM-5 classification, decided that it should be considered a potential diagnosis requiring further research for formal recognition. In 2018, the International Classification of Diseases from the WHO included internet gaming disorder among their disease categories. Prevalence is unknown, research is still going on, it's somewhere between 0.3 and 1%. So it's relatively common, considering that millions of people are engaged in internet gaming. Cyber suicide. Any suicide involving internet technology. The internet can be a cause, like cyberbullying or internet gaming. The internet can be an adjunct. You can post suicide notes on the internet. Where I work, I have seen many patients who post suicide notes on Facebook. And then someone sees them, family or friend sees them, alerts the police and ambulance, they bring the patient in after seeing that suicide note. So it can work for the benefit as well. Death casting is where you actually stream your suicide on social media. Why don't people stop it? Because they think that the person will at some point stop the suicide attempt, but they don't, they die. There are also suicide groups on the internet. And what they do, there was a suicide group in Hong Kong in 2009, about 200 people planning a mass suicide. The government had to intervene and stop that suicide. Cyber suicide and cyberbullying and cyber suicide. This is a landmark case, the case of Megan Mia in Missouri in the United States. Megan Mia was a 13-year-old schoolgirl in America, and she was being bullied at school. She was being bullied at school, not cyberbullied, but bullied at school. And then A 16-year-old boy called Josh Evans befriended her on social media and tried to support her through that bullying. And then suddenly those messages began changing. And one day he said, I don't know if I want to be friends with you anymore, everybody hates you, the world would be a better place without you. Megan was so distressed that she went and hung herself and died. Police investigated who Josh Evans was. There was no Josh Evans. So Megan was bullied at school. The person who was bullying her at school, that girl's mother, assumed the identity of Josh Evans and posted these text messages so that she, the mother, could also bully Megan. And that's how Megan died. That's Lori Drew, that's the mother who posed as Josh Evans and posted those text messages. There was no law to charge her or convict her, so she was tried for misusing or abusing the internet. She was initially convicted and then acquitted on appeal. And there was a public outcry against this incident. And the state of Missouri then passed the Megan Mears Cyberbullying Prevention Act, which was later adopted federally across the United States. Internet gaming can also lead to cyber suicide. This game is called the Momo Challenge. This is done through WhatsApp. So you get a WhatsApp call, and when you answer, your phone gets hacked into. And people who run this game then extract information from your phone. Then they send you threatening messages saying if you don't do these things, your information will be publicized. So you end up doing more and more difficult things. And unable to bear that distress, there's a video. And about a dozen people have committed suicide. There's a Blue Whale suicide game, which is this one. So basically, what you get is you join this group. So people get different sets of messages asking them to do various tasks over a period of 50 days. And at the end of the 50th day, they're asked to jump off a high building and kill themselves. About 130 people in Russia have killed themselves because of this game. So social media, where do we go from here? When social media first came into being, it was like the motor car. The motor car reduced distances between people. It increased communication between them. They created a lot of traffic. So social media is also like a motor car. Unfortunately, it's like a motor car without brakes, and your feet permanently pressed on the accelerator. So how do we regulate such a motor car? The motor car is regulated through, you can't just drive a motor car, you need to learn to drive a motor car. There are regulations governing driving, there's laws preventing you from driving recklessly, and you'll be monitored by the police, otherwise you'll be charged. So I think social media needs similar measures to control it. It already happens in relation to terrorism, where social media is tightly regulated. And similar measures should be adopted for social media in medicine. I have no social media profiles. Thank you.
Thank you for that comprehensive look at social media. In the interest of time, we'll move on, and can I ask Dr. Udisana to give you a small token of appreciation for your comprehensive coverage of the connection between social media and medicine. And that brings us to the end of what is essentially an Australian plenary. Thank you very much.